I like the word connections too. I was going to say, of course, the Glasser term is love and belonging, but for me it's more connection. Feeling, enjoying another's company, whether it's your kid or your best friend or coworker or your mother or father or whatever. It's that feeling of connection. It's that feeling of being accepted for who you are, and the person still enjoys your company, and you share maybe some interests, and just you feel happy being with them. As a friend of mine said the other day, I went to visit, I hadn't seen in a long time, and we were talking about friendship, and she said to me, she said, when I told my mom that Tracy was coming to visit, she said, oh, that's great, you'll be in a good mood for a few days afterward. And I thought, well, what a nice thing to say, but what a nice thing to say about a good relationship or connection, right?
Why is that? Why would she be in a good mood for a few days afterwards? Why? Anybody can answer.
It makes us feel valued, important, worthwhile. Somebody that listens to us, cares about us.
Who are the people we have these worthwhile, valued connections with?
People we respect.
Who are those people almost always?
Enjoy the time being together.
Who are these magical people?
Our friends, yeah.
Who are they?
Your
Who
friends.
said that?
Yeah.
You said it? Right. Friends. Friends are the people with whom we have the perfect relationship. Why is that?
You can pick them.
What
Because
did
we
they
can
do?
pick them. Mutual support.
Because if we don't treat them properly, what happens?
We lose them.
They go. They leave. So we have a lot to invest in friends. Your boss, you might have a good relationship with, your employees, your students, your teachers, and so on might have a good, but you know what, you pretty much have to be good to these people. They have to be with you also if they want the work to be done. But friends are very special. They don't need us, and we don't need them in any specific way, except for the fact that they satisfy our needs. And we make sure, to the best of our ability, that we try to satisfy their needs. Can you imagine how it would be if you spoke to think of a friend, a good friend, if you spoke to that friend in the same way that you speak to your children? You're all laughing, but it's really sad. So, not valued, your children don't feel valued, they feel judged, as we all do when people speak to us that way. So what are we not doing in the relationship or the connection with our children?
We're not respecting them.
We're not meeting what?
Sorry, want to say that question again? What are we not doing?
What are we not doing for our children or with our children in the connections that we have with them?
Not listening.
We're not respecting them. And we're not working hard to
I
keep...
want the general word that covers all of these good things.
Not meeting their needs.
Not meeting their needs. We're not meeting their needs. And fortunately for you, I know exactly what those needs are. So listening and all of that is all very well, and it's nice, and being valued and blah, blah, blah. But those are opinions that we put on things. We actually, as human beings, and our children too, have very specific needs, which can be recognized. And we can recognize them when it comes to our children, to anybody really. We meet these needs with our friends most of the time, and the people we call friends do it for us without apparently giving it much thought, but in fact we do give it a great deal of thought. But we're so used to we know what would happen if we treated them differently. So we're very careful how we treat them and what we say to them. Even with strangers, even with people that we meet in a very casual way, shop, workers, people that we meet, even the people that you meet here today that you may not meet again, you will treat them better than you treat your children. Why do we do that? Because there is one need that our children meet for us that friends don't. And it's a very powerful need. Nobody else meets it except our children. Our children are the only ones who meet our
Survival.
need for
Survival.
survival. That's why it's so scary when things don't work out between us. Because our need for survival is uppermost. It's our primal need to survive. And of course, our children are the evidence, the proof, the way that our survival is met. Even adopted children, stepchildren, still meet our need for survival because they carry with them, if not our DNA, they carry with them our belief systems, what we think are our values, things that we regard as important. They carry with them. And the reason we treat them so negatively is because we have so much to lose with our children. More than it's sad, it's disappointing when we lose a friend. It's sad when a neighbour or someone else, a teacher or an employer, a boss, whomever, a student, when they go away, when they leave or something happens to them, it's sad, we miss them, but it is not anything like the grief that we feel when something happens to our child. That I don't think there is a greater pain that any parent can feel than something that happens to their child. Even, I remember years ago when my oldest daughter first started acting out. One day I was in my bedroom. I have an office in the house, but I also have a small desk in my bedroom. And I happened to be going through it looking for something, I can't remember what. And I happened to come across a photograph of my daughter. In the photograph, she was about 10 years old, although at the time she was actually about 14, 15. But in the photograph, she was 10 years old. And she had very long, thick brown hair. So did I once. She was laughing. She was laughing into the camera, very happy. When I looked at the photograph, I felt such a surge of pain that actually did feel physical. I could almost feel it here, and in fact, I did take a step backwards. And I put the photograph away, but I couldn't get over the terrible, painful feeling that I felt, and I couldn't understand it. It was a feeling I recognised, but it seemed misplaced, and I didn't know why I was feeling it at that time. It almost felt as if my daughter had died, but she hadn't died. In fact, she was strutting down the sidewalk as I looked out of the window, eyes caked with makeup and slouching along as if she was ready to punch anybody who got in her way, which might have done. So she was very much alive. I didn't recognise why I was feeling that way until much later when I spoke to other parents and realised that what I was experiencing was the grief at the loss of my ideal child. So that grief that we feel, that terrible pain that we feel when our children are acting out is in fact grief. And it's why we are so panic-stricken and put so much energy into building what we think are relationships with them. But those relationships aren't working, obviously. So what we need to look at is what is it about them that isn't working? What are we doing for this most precious and most important of all relationships? What are we not doing? What are we not paying attention to?